Mons is a Belgian city and municipality, and the capital of the province of Hainaut. The Mons municipality includes the former communes of Cuismes, Fleac-10U, Glin, Hyen, Nimy, Auberg, Bordeaux, Jemappes, Ciply, Harmagnes, Harvenk, Havre, Mézières, Mesven, Nouvelles, Saint-Denis, Saint-Symphorien, Spines, Villers-Saint-Ghislain, Casteau, Masny, Saint-Jean, and Ville-sur-Aisne. Together with the Czech city of Plzeň, Mons is the European Capital of Culture in 2015. History. Early settlements in the Middle Ages. The first signs of activity in the region of Mons are found at Spines, where some of the best flint tools in Europe were found, dating from the Neolithic period. When Julius Caesar arrived in the region in the 1st century BC, the region was settled by the Nervii, a Belgian tribe. A castrum was built in Roman times, giving the settlement its Latin name Castri Locus. The name was later changed into Montes for the mountain on which the castrum was built. In the 7th century, Saint Ghislain and two of his disciples built an oratory or chapel dedicated to Saints Peter and Paul near the Mons Hill, at a place called Ursidongus, now known as Saint Ghislain. Soon after, Saint Waltruda, daughter of one of Clothari's intendants, came to the oratory and was proclaimed a saint upon her death in 688. She was canonized in 1039. Like Ath, its neighbor to the northwest, Mons was made a fortified city by Baldwin IV, Count of Hainaut in the 12th century. The population grew quickly, trade flourished, and several commercial buildings were erected near the Grand Place. The 12th century also saw the appearance of the first town halls. The city had 4,700 inhabitants by the end of the 13th century. Mons succeeded Valenciennes as the capital of the county of Hainaut in 1295 and grew to 8,900 inhabitants by the end of the 15th century. In the 1450s, Matthias de Leyens took over the construction of the St. Waltruda church from Jan Spijekens and restored the town hall. From 1500 to 1800 in 1515, Charles V took an oath in Mons as Count of Hainaut. In this period of its history, the city became the target of various occupations, starting in May 1572 with the Protestant takeover by Louis of Nassau, who had hoped to clear the way for the French Protestant leader Gaspard de Coligny to oppose Spanish rule. After the murder of de Coligny during the St. Bartholomew's Day massacre, the Duke of Alba took control of Mons in September 1572 in the name of the Catholic King of Spain. This spelled the ruin of the city and the arrest of many of its inhabitants. From 1580 to 1584, Mons became the capital of the southern Netherlands. On April 8, 1691, after a 9-month siege, Louis XIV's army stormed the city, which again suffered heavy casualties. From 1697 to 1701, Mons was alternately French or Austrian. After being under French control from 1701 to 1709, the Dutch army gained the upper hand in the Battle of Malplaquet. In 1715, Mons returned to Austria under the terms of the Treaty of Utrecht. But the French did not give up easily. Louis XV besieged the city again in 1746. After the Battle of Jemappes, the Hainaut area was annexed to France and Mons became the capital of the Jemappes district. From 1800 to the present, following the fall of the First French Empire in 1814, King William I of the Netherlands fortified the city heavily. In 1830, however, Belgium gained its independence and the decision was made to dismantle fortified cities such as Mons, Charleroi, and Namur. The actual removal of fortifications only happened in the 1860s, allowing the creation of large boulevards and other urban projects. The Industrial Revolution and coal mining made Mons a center of heavy industry, which strongly influenced the culture and image of the Borinage region as a whole. It was to become an integral part of the Silem Industriel, the industrial backbone of Wallonia. Riots of Mons in 1893. Between Mons and Jemappes, 7 strikers were killed by the Civic Guard at the end of the Belgian general strike of 1893. The proposed law on universal suffrage was approved the day after by the Belgian parliament. This general strike was one of the first general strikes in an industrial country. Battle of Mons on August 23 and 24, 1914. Mons was the location of the Battle of Mons, the first battle fought by the British Army in World War I. The British were forced to retreat with just over 1,600 casualties, and the town remained occupied by the Germans until its liberation by the Canadian Corps during the final days of the war. Within the front entrance to the City Hall, there are several memorial placards related to the WW1 battles, and in particular, one has the inscription, "Mons was recaptured by the Canadian Corps on the 11th of November 1918. After 50 months of German occupation, freedom was restored to the city. Here was fired the last shot of the Great War, Second World War." During the Second World War, as an important industrial center, the city was heavily bombed and several skirmishes took place in September 1944 between the American troops and the retreating German forces. After 1945, after the war, most industries went into decline. NATO's supreme headquarters, Allied Powers Europe, was relocated in Casto, a village near Mons, from Fontainebleau after France's withdrawal from the military structure of the alliance in 1967. The relocation of SHAPE to this particular region of Belgium was largely a political decision, based in large part on the depressed economic conditions of the area at the time, with a view to bolstering the economy of the region. A riot in the prison of Mons took place in April 2006 after prisoner complaints concerning living conditions and treatment. No deaths were reported as a result of the riot, but the event focused attention on prisons throughout Belgium. Today, the city is an important university town and commercial center. Main sites: the Grand Place is the center of the historic town and the stage for the annual mock battle of the Lumicone. The City Hall, originally built near the current location of the Belfry, was moved on the Grand Place in the 13th century. The flamboyant Gothic building we see today dates from the 15th century. In front of it stands a statue of a monkey, which is said to bring good fortune to those who pat his head. The Collegiate Church of St. Wardreau is paradoxically a good specimen of the Gothic architecture of Brabant. The neighboring Belfry, classified as a World Heritage Site, dates from the 17th century and is the only Baroque-style belfry in Belgium. The so-called Spanish House dates from the 16th century. Museum François Doesburg. Festivities. The Doudou is the name of a week-long series of festivities, or ducasse, which originates from the 14th century and takes place every year on Trinity Sunday. Highlights include the entrusting of the reliquary of Saint Waltrude to the mayor of the city on the eve of the procession, the placement of the reliquary on the car door, before it is carried in the city streets in a colorful procession that counts more than 1,000 costumed participants, the lifting of the car door on a paved area near the Church of St. Waltrude. Tradition holds that this operation must be successful for the city to prosper. The Lumicone fight, where St. George confronts the dragon. The fight lasts for about half an hour, accompanied by the rhythmic Doudou music. The tradition of the processional dragon is listed among the masterpieces of the oral and intangible heritage of humanity. Tanks in Town commemorates the liberation of Belgium during World War II by the 3rd Armoured Division, and is one of the largest gathering of World War II tanks in the world. Education. There are several educational facilities in Mons. Conservatoire Royal de Mons, or CRM, Facultés Universitaires Catholiques de Mons, or FUCAM, Université de Mons, or UMONS, Institut Reine Astrid Mons, Transportation. Mons is located along N56 road. It is also accessed via E42, which is a continuation of French Autoroute 2, linking the British WW1 battlefields of Mons with the Somme battlefields. Mons railway station opened on 19 December 1841. A small, general aviation airfield, St. Ghislain Airport, is located nearby for private aircraft. Sports. The town hosts a football club named RAEC Mons, a professional basketball team called Belfius Mons Hainaut, and a tennis tournament called the Ethiers Trophy. There is also a horse racing venue at Hippodrome de Wallonie in Mons.